Hi, I'm Jeff Luke, one of the instructors with the Game Experience program, and today I'm going to talk to you about starting your first project. So you're ready to start your first project, right? And you probably have a grand idea of a big game to make, something like a Halo or, a Witcher 3. Don't do it. It's not going to work. You will fail, I promise you. Instead, start with something small, something more focused. Look at, something simple like a Mario game or Galaga even, something very old and simple mechanics. Use that as the basis of your first game. So the goal of your first project is to actually finish it, right? You want people to actually see this thing and, get their hands on it, play it. If you try to make your big swan song straight out the gate, there's a good chance it's gonna just stay in developer limbo. That's basically the place where you have a game that you have a great idea for and all this stuff, but you never actually make any traction on it. Why? Because the budget is gonna be like, in the millions, and you have a measly $100 in your pocket. So instead, you should make the goal be to come up with something that you can make in a matter of months as opposed to a matter of years. You might sit there and think, well, Assassin's Creed games come out every single year. That's because they are a team of over 150 people. I think the last one is actually about 600 people, and they stagger their releases based across two different teams. That's why they're able to come up with one every year. Actually, they're getting, a little over 2 years of development time each time. That's why they can do it. You will be a team of probably, if you're lucky, more than one person. Probably less than 10, and that means that your ability to make a game like that is basically impossible. It's not gonna happen. So like I said, start small. Start with something simple that you can actually, schedule out and create in, say, 7 months. 7 months is a great time to have a goal of finishing a game from start to finish, and then give yourself 2 months to be able to ship it, essentially. Additionally, when you're actually starting to develop this game, make sure that your team makes sense. A lot of people will probably say, oh, I need, 5 artists, I need a couple programmers, I need, a designer, a director, a producer. If you're starting on a small project, likely you will need to be 2 or 3 different roles. So if, you have no programming experience, maybe you have some art experience, you should be an artist, you should be the designer, you should probably be the producer as well. That's 3 roles. I know that seems like a lot, but this is how indie projects, can get off the ground. Additionally, if you have a budget, it might be small. Find out what you need to do, to actually make your project work. Don't hire an artist full-time or anything. Maybe your game only needs a little bit of art. Hire them for just that bit of work, and that's it. Don't sit there and say, I'll pay you monthly until the end of the project. It's not gonna, you're gonna just burn through your entire budget immediately. Look at the people that you really need. You probably need a programmer for sure. You need a designer, somebody who can make levels or whatever, and you probably need at least 1 artist. Doesn't need to be full-time. Any of these people don't need to really be full-time. They just need to be there available for the time that they are working, basically. And like an artist who you can hire just for the work that you need done, same goes for audio. You don't need to hire a full-time audio person for your first project. Hire them for, the 1 or 2 tracks you might need, as well as the sound effects. Pay them a certain amount based on what they deliver, and continue on. This will help you maintain your budget through the 7 months or so that you're developing your game, and make sure that you can actually get this thing out, preferably under budget, so that way in case your game sadly doesn't make any money, you at least didn't spend all of your money. Speaking of budget, do not try to crowdfund your first project. Here's the reasons, and these are huge. 1, you're probably not an established developer yet. That means no one's gonna take you seriously, and I really mean that. And you shouldn't be taken seriously. You have no street cred at all. I'm not saying this to be a jerk. I'm saying this because it's true, and these are very, very good points that you should always remember. Unless you're basically someone like a Tim Schafer of Double Fine, you're not gonna get traction. The reason why crowd-funded games are successful is because they either A, have a known developer behind them, or B, they have a ton of really big names attached to it. Either a huge audio composer or artist that people love on the internet. So instead, look for other sources of money. Either A, save and just make sure that you have the money up front for your whole entire development, or B, look to investors that aren't just the entire internet, because you will fail. I promise you. If you try to rely on crowdfunding, you will not make it. Most people make this mistake and then they end up bankrupt and or paying back a ton of fans or the people who crowdfunded their project, and now they're in the hole thousands of dollars. So do yourself a favor, don't do it. So let's assume that I've convinced you now that you should make a game that's small, that's something you can finish in 6 to 7 months. Now the goal is to make that goal actually realistic. How do you do that? Well, first thing you want to do is actually kind of look at your entire product. You say, I'm making a Mario game. I'm going to need 5-6 enemies, right? I need 80 levels. Okay, there's the first red flag. 80 levels, that's a lot of levels. What can you really realistically get done that people will be okay with? So this is what we call the MVP, or minimal viable product. Basically, this is the product that you're gonna be okay shipping out that you could theoretically get done in half the time of your schedule, essentially. So if you can get a game that's, at the point of feeling like it's ready to ship in 4 months, great. Everything else after that is the cherry on top, essentially. Get that figured out first, because that will help you determine what's really possible in 6 to 7 months. You don't want to sit there and say, I'm gonna make a game that's got 80 levels and 12 bosses and 40 enemies, because I guarantee you'll start making that first world and you might be feeling really good about it, and then you suddenly realize that you still have to get 10 other worlds done with X amount of levels, and you're like, oh, I'm already a month into development. How am I gonna make that happen? And there's your first problem, right? So figure that part out. Once you figure that out, you basically can sail very smoothly along in the development line, as long as nothing crazy happens. Figure out what your MVP is. Everything after that should basically say, can I add this as an addition, and am I okay with cutting it? And if you're okay with cutting it, you're probably gonna have something solid right out the gates. So, I hope that this doesn't sit there and make you go, what have I been doing with my life? And instead, it really helps you kind of keep your expectations in check, it's good to dream big. Dream as big as you can, but make sure that you can ground yourself when it's necessary. Start with something small, like I said, the MVP, and you can always expand if you have more time. So thank you for your time. Once again, I'm Jeff Luke with the Game Experience Program, and I look forward to seeing you this summer. Thanks.